Strikes Back is one of the greatest movies of all time. That's the intro. That's what I say if they start this video. I'm going to get into my opinions on why this is one of the greatest movies there ever is and ever will be. And yeah, I'm just going to get into it now. See my other videos of More Shadow Lord, I do breakdowns of the whole chapter and then give my opinions. This one's going to be a bit different because I'm sure pretty much everyone's watched Empire Strikes Back who's interested in Star Wars. Pretty much everyone knows how good Empire Strikes Back is. But I'm just going to go into maybe like 4 points and why this movie is just incredible. And yeah, I'm not going to go into everything, obviously, because everyone's watched Empire Strikes Back, if you know what I mean. And yeah, this is just going to be a chill video that just talks about this great movie and why it's so good. I'm going to start off when we see the more force of the Force in action. Obviously, this would have been new to the viewer at the time. Obviously, now in Star Wars, it seems normal to us. But when Luke grabs his lightsaber in the snow using the Force, obviously now this is seen as normal, but at the time this was an addition to the Force, because what had we seen in New Hope? Obi-Wan use a mind trick and lightsabers, and Luke with the blasters, with the droids when he deflects the bullets. That's pretty much all we see in with the Force, I'm pretty sure, in New Hope. So this was definitely taking a step, and we see a bit more in Dagobah as well, but this was truly the first time you've really seen this. And the whole Battle of Hoth is just so well done. It's one of the best planets in Star Wars, in my opinion, just because it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just very, obviously, there's not many planets that are just full of snow, but I'm pretty sure Hoth might be the only one. Obviously, you can tell this one has its severe characteristics, as most planets do with Star Wars. However, we'd seen Tatooine in A New Hope, and that was very deserty, and this was quite the opposite. It's a desert, but just of snow, and the whole fight scene's great, and yet that's all I've got to really say for Hoth. This was a slow paced start of the movie, however, this was very good in terms of being well done. Like, it was slow paced, I think around the 20th minute the Empire finds him, and then obviously they invade Hoth, and they couldn't invade it too close because the generators were up, so it actually gave us a reason why, which is very easy to get wrong, as we see in The Last Jedi, but that doesn't matter. We see Darth Vader again, which has quite a big role in this movie, you'd say. And Luke says he's off to Dagobah with R2-D2, and we're getting to the spaceship scene with Han and the Empire now. Maybe I just underrate this scene, but I always forget how criminally underrated this scene actually is. It actually gets you on the edge of the seat, even though you know they're going to be fighting every time. And then I forget Han stuck to the Star Destroyer, but I always remember Boba coming out, following them. Obviously, you have them going into an asteroid field, which it's just was so well done, and that was quite incredible. You had the whole Empire basically on them, and they obviously went into that creature's mouth, and obviously didn't realise 3PO was being a bit of an annoying the whole time. And even though Leia and Han hated each other, well, not hated, it's kind of bittersweet with them too the whole time, the whole movie. But at the start, you can tell, obviously, Leia kissing Luke, which I don't like that scene for obvious reasons. That'll never be my favourite scene, but you see when they actually get on, and then when they don't get on at the start of the film. And they obviously went to Bespin, which I'll get on later, and Cloud City. When the hyperdrive starts working, I'll speak about this now. I've never realised this until I watched it last night. When the hyperdrive stops working, Han says, "It's not my fault." And then Lando said this same exact thing when they were leaving Bespin, and the hyperdrive didn't work. That's just a little Easter egg I noticed that I generally never noticed before. I don't know if that's both from me or if I've just forgot that I ever knew about that. I'm going to talk about Dagobah. Obviously, there's quite a big shock, I would imagine, at the time when Yoda reveals himself as a little midget and a creature. But yeah, that whole planet's done amazingly as well. Just a swamp. We see completely different characteristics with every planet in the original trilogy, and why it's so good and so loved. We see R2-D2 and Yoda fighting, which is generally the funniest thing. And yeah, we see Yoda train Luke in the Force. I don't know how long he was there for. I can't imagine long, because Dagobah time moves differently, I'm pretty sure, as well, because it's so powerful in the Force, mainly the dark side. With the dark side tunnel, I think that's very well done, because watching that for the first time, and then you've seen Darth Vader come out of the tunnel, you think, what's going on here? How is he tracking Luke down? And then obviously turns out it's not Darth Vader, it's just something he imagined. And then Luke obviously chose the same fate as his father did, however, to save his friends. Anakin, it was to save Padme, but obviously it doesn't go down as far as Anakin did. But he feels like he's left with no choice. This ties very well into Revenge of the Sith, which obviously when the movie came out, no one knew about that. But this ties really well together, in my opinion. The Dagobah was great. We see, I forgot to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi's, or as Luke calls him, Ben, still. We see his ghost in Hoth, and then we see, obviously, in Dagobah. We couldn't really tell if it was him in Hoth. Well, Luke couldn't tell, I mean. This is the first time we've seen him as a ghost, or seen a false ghost in general, if you look at the time. Maybe not in the Star Wars timeline, however. We see that Luke, and Obi-Wan tells him to stay. And we hear Yoda say there is another, when Obi-Wan says that boy is our last hope, obviously talking about Leia, who is a part of the rebellion, but the audience don't know who Yoda's talking about. Obviously, it comes into, we know now because they Return of the Jedi. But Dagobah was very well done, in my opinion. I don't have too many complaints with this whole movie in general, with how good it was. You can really see why this movie hit, and why this movie is still holds up today with some of the greatest of all time, in my opinion, because it's just, I'll get into a bit more later, but the whole movie's just so well done at all the planets. And I'll get into Bespin now. Now we see in Bespin how beautiful the city is, and the different characteristics of the planet, which I've kept referring back to. And we see Lando Calrissian for the first time, whose actor actually, I would take this as a top 10 actor in Star Wars, because I think he does such a good job of playing Lando, and I think he really embodies Lando Calrissian and what he is and what he's supposed to be. But we get the twist that the Empire's obviously got here first, which I'm guessing, obviously it's never been confirmed, but I'm guessing Boba just went back and pretty much knew that they were going to vote a Bespin and informed the Empire and Darth Vader, and obviously gets his reward, taking Han to Jabba the Hutt. And we have some of the best scenes in this last part of the movie. We have I Love You, I Know, which has stuck with pretty much everyone. And then we have the bit that stuck with everyone who either didn't watch the movie, is in the duel between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, which you could tell Darth Vader was, obviously maybe not at the time, you couldn't tell, but Darth Vader was toying with him, it seems like, and was pretty much overpowering Luke quite significantly, until Luke gets I'm pretty sure he just cuts the edge of Vader or something, just misses him, which you could call Vader a bit lucky for that. But then Vader says, all right, I need to end this, and just cuts his hand off. Then we see that Luke, I am your father, which is probably the biggest and best plot twist in all of cinema history, all of movie history, in my opinion. I can't think of anything that comes close to this. The biggest hero and the biggest villain are father and son, which we were told throughout A New Hope that Luke's father was killed by this guy as well, and by a guy that Luke really trusted, and a guy the whole audience trusted. Obviously, people came after this movie saying it's not true, Vader's lying. However, we see in Return of the Jedi and the whole prequels that it is true. And that's, in my opinion, is easily maybe the best scene. No, maybe not. Maybe the best scene's a bit too overglazing, but this is one of the all-time plot twists, at least. And yeah, Luke obviously falls down and connects with Leia in the Force. Now, at the time, Peter must have just be thinking, oh, what's going on here? He doesn't have like a comlink, he doesn't have anything with him. We eventually find out that Leia is Force sensitive, which I think that might have got picked up on today. If Star Wars came out today and as big as it was, because of the internet, I think it might have got picked up on with all the theories and that. I think it would have become a popular theory. However, I don't really think many people picked up on this at the time, because the internet wasn't really around. And yeah, I'm just going to get on to, now I've got into all that, I'm going to get into everything that makes this movie very good. Now, as I've said, the movie started quite slowly, but that's not exactly a bad thing. I think it has great pacing throughout, because it's certainly goes up and down quite a bit. It stays quite fast paced throughout, I'd say. But the thing that makes this movie so good is it's dark. I think all the best movies, like if it, in my personal opinion, the best Avengers movie is Infinity War. Now, obviously, this video isn't about Infinity War, and this movie isn't anything to do with Marvel. However, I prefer all the movies that have like a dark turn most of the time, like Revenge of the Sith, The Empire Strikes Back. And personally, it just shows a bit more risks. Like, in my opinion, a movie needs to take a lot of risks. And The Empire Strikes Back definitely does that, with Vader being Luke's father, freezing Han Solo in carbonite, and the Rebels pretty much losing the whole movie. You'd say they just escaped, and then they got a Bespin, and obviously that was one time too much, and they didn't get away. I honestly think this movie gets a bit underrated now today. I think most Star Wars fans have Revenge of the Sith as their favorite movie, which I had switched between these two all the time. Revenge of the Sith and Empire Strikes Back. I think they're both amazing movies, amazingly acted, and they haven't got many flaws. There is some deleted scenes from Empire Strikes Back. I might make a video on some deleted scenes in some movies, but I want to talk about this one, which honestly, I think I would have rather it didn't get cut out. We hear Leia and Luke talking and what they did to Han. Luke's obviously confused because he's fixing his arm as well. He's getting his arm fixed by a droid. And yeah, I think this was a good scene in my opinion. However, maybe it didn't need to be in the movie, but I think I would have liked to see it in the movie. However, it doesn't really make a difference, no. I mean, this movie was quite short, to be honest. I mean, pretty short. It was 2 hours and 4 minutes long, which for a Star Wars movie is probably quite normal, to be fair. I don't know actually. I'm pretty sure the longest movie is The Rise of Skywalker, which obviously wasn't great. But Revenge of the Sith was supposed to be long, and I wish they made Revenge of the Sith longer during the Order 66 scene, because I think that would have meant so much more, but I'm pretty sure they cut it down by an hour. They wouldn't have that scene being like an hour, and George Lucas wanted to make the movie about 4 hours long, but obviously that's not the best for overall audience. You don't want to make a movie 4 hours long, usually, if you want to attract to the widest audience possible, because people don't have the attention span of that, and especially now, people wouldn't have an attention span of that. But anyway, I just want to end this video on Empire Strikes Back, and this is, in my opinion, one of the all-time greatest movies, just for how well-directed, well-acted, well-thought out this whole movie actually is, and how dark it is. I've said it a couple of times now. I love how dark this movie is, and we obviously see Luke disobeying Yoda. I haven't talked about this, I've just remembered now. But Luke, obviously, we see the same trait he did with his father in Revenge of the Sith, which these movies tie really well together. I don't know if they purposely did that for Revenge of the Sith or not, but them two movies tie very well together. They're both dark, they both have similar moments and parts throughout the movie. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video on why Empire Strikes Back, in my opinion, is one of the greatest movies of all time. I hope you enjoyed, and if you don't mind, like and subscribe, and if you enjoyed,